Xilonen is most probably joining us in the next phase, and seeing the banners in version 6.2 and the expected banners in version 6.3 and 6.4, the question is Xilonen really worth spending 80 pulls on? If we look at the expected rewards in version 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4, we will be getting around 220 pulls as an F2P player. This is higher because it includes the new map and Lantern Rite rewards, which means most players can get at least 2 limited 5-star characters in these 3 versions. So today, we will be discussing whether Xilonen is a top 2 pick among all the upcoming characters. Before that, if you want to get even more pulls, do check out Loot Bar, since they are running an extra discount that currently makes it the cheapest method to top up. Just click my link in the description, select your server, enter your UID, and your Genesis crystals are delivered instantly. If you sign up now, there's an extra 10% coupon on your first purchase. Okay, back to the topic. Starting with what actually makes Xilonen way better than other traditional supports, let's look at her kit. She provides 36% resistance shred for up to 3 elements, which is huge, especially compared to Animo units, who are forced to swap in and out multiple times to swirl 3 elements, making rotations longer and causing massive damage loss. This gets even worse when you have multiple off-field damage dealers and want to maximize their damage as well. Talking about rotations, Xilonen has one of the lowest on-field times in the game, making your rotation way faster, and faster rotations lead to more overall damage. Along with resistance shred, she also provides healing, which is pretty good. Xilonen currently has the strongest team in the entire game, with Mavuika and Sitlali. She also works in Arlecchino melt teams, Neuvillette hypercarry teams, and even Veresa teams. If you do not have C6 Chevrus, then Xilonen becomes best in slot for Veresa. If you don't have Shanyun, she also becomes the best in slot support for Veresa Electro Charge teams. Thanks to her healing, she works insanely well with Farina teams too. Talking about her weapons and artifacts, she can use Favonius for team energy needs, or you can stack EM on her with Zephos Moonlight, as Xilonen doesn't really need personal stats since her healing and buffs scale comfortably. For Notlin and Fontaine DPS units, her best in-slot artifact set is Scroll of Cinder City. If someone in your team is already using Scroll, you can swap her to Petra, which is equally good for her. For other setups, like Flint's teams, she can use Noblesse Oblige for the attack buff. If someone else is already using Noblesse, you can use Instructor for EM. All of this is possible because her kit doesn't actually need anything for herself, unlike Kazuha, who needs EM and the VV set to function. In this way, Xilonen is way more flexible. Now coming to the cases where she becomes a must-pull. If you have Mavuika or are planning to get her, the value of Xilonen becomes massive. She is the second best in slot after Sitlali, providing huge buffs and Night Soul points that make Mavuika's rotation smoother. Seeing that Sitlali had her banner 2 patches ago, her next rerun is expected much later in the nod-krai cycle, mostly around version 6.6 or 6.8. As said, she also works extremely well with Neuvillette, Arlecchino, and Veresa. So if you have most of these units, Xilonen becomes a huge upgrade for your account. Talking about Flins, although she works perfectly fine with him, his future premium teams are expected to prefer Jehoda and Columbina, which lowers her long-term value slightly, but as an F2P player, Xilonen still remains a very solid option for him. Xilonen is also best in slot for Geo DPS units, as she is the only meta support who can provide Geo resistance shred, making her broken for current and future Geo DPS units. Now, comparing her value with other characters, especially Durin, because both supports are coming in the same phase, Durin is essentially an upgraded Xiangling who provides around 15% more team damage compared to Xiangling, and about 5% more damage compared to Mavuika. But honestly, the gap isn't that huge unless you are playing older DPS units like Navia, Wanderer, Venti, or Klee. In these setups, Durin is a massive upgrade and becomes a must-pull. However, for newer DPS units like Kinnich, Mualani, Veresa, Neuvillette, and Arlecchino, Durin is only around 5 to 8% better than Mavuika. As a new player who doesn't have old DPS units, Xilonen becomes a way better option than Durin, since Durin has alternatives, not only Xiangling, but also Mavuika, who is a must-have in any account. But the real question isn't even about Durin. As said, Columbina is most likely joining in the first phase of version 6.3, right after Xilonen's banner, and her value is expected to be significantly higher than both Durin and Xilonen. If you're expecting a lot of pulls from the new map and Lantern Rite, that won't happen. The new map gives around 15 pulls with full exploration, and Lantern Rite is in the second phase of version 6.3, after Columbina's banner. So realistically, you get about 40 pulls in the first half of version 6.3. This means you need to save at least 40 more pulls before version 6.3 if you're guaranteed, and up to 100 pulls if you're on a 50-50. And trust me, as someone playing this game for 5 years, Columbina is one of the most hyped units in the entire history of Genshin, way higher than Farina or Mavuika, who were both insanely strong Archons. So it is not wrong to expect Columbina to be at that same tier, making her a must-have. And this is not all. Seeing some of you pulling for Skirk or Escoffier to complete their duo, this makes it even harder because you'll be left with no pulls for Varka and the White Adeptus, who are expected to change the Anemo meta completely with Lunar Swirl. So what should you actually prioritize? For someone who has Mavuika, and especially does not have Sitlali, Xilonen becomes a must-get, and I would personally suggest skipping Durin, because Mavuika already does most of the work you expect Durin to do. Yes, Durin is better in some cases, but seeing how few wishes we have, we need to make big decisions. Also, Durin will get a rerun mostly after 4 patches, so if you really want him, you can wait. And of course, he will have strong synergy with Varka, but will he be a must-pull for Varka like Sitlali is for Mavuika or like Skirk and Escoffier are for each other? I don't think so.
These are just predictions. The actual banners could be completely different when they release. Okay, I hope this video helped you get some clarity, and if you want more in-depth breakdowns, check out the videos on screen right now. Till then,